It's so interesting. All This Could Be Yours certainly came out of my own experience, and there's no question about that. In fact, some of the other authors who have read it have said they almost get PTSD from remembering their own book tours and having those memories be regenerated by reading about All This Could Be Yours. Because All This Could Be Yours stars Tessa Calloway, as you said, who is a debut author with a surprise best-selling novel. And she is sent by her publisher on a glamorous coast-to-coast book tour where she's followed by adoring fans and standing room only audiences. You can see this is aspirational for any author. Standing room only audiences and fans and people who love her and people who wear periwinkle blue earrings to match the cover of the book. So this is absolute adulation. And this is a dream come true for Tessa. But at one point along the way on her tour, she begins to realize that she's not on tour by herself, that she has a person, I don't want to say a stalker, but there is something going on, someone who is trying to ruin her career, as well as sort of destroy her family, her loving, beloved family that she's had to leave behind. What makes that even scarier is that Tessa begins to realize that, to fear that what's happening is her fault, that it's the result of what really felt like a Faustian bargain she made some years ago, and that possibly that bargain is about to come due. It's now her turn to pay the price, and that's what's happening. So it's a sort of book tour from hell. I completely took book tour for authors and weaponized every single bit of it and made it terrifying. So what starts out as a cross-country glamorous book tour turns into a cross-country cat and mouse chase with the author running for her life and the lives of her family as well. So, I love this book. It's completely relatable. It's interesting because it started out as this creepy book tour book, but turned out, and we can talk about this more if you like, turned out to be sort of additionally, besides this suspenseful novel, a sort of love letter to independent bookstores and libraries and completely to readers, all readers who read our books and love our books, and also to all writers who go through the same throes of delight and fear and dread and happiness and stress and pressure. I mean, being on book tour as an author is essentially at its grittiest being sort of a traveling salesperson, right? You're going from town to town. You're in a different airport every day, a different hotel every day, a different city every day, a different bookstore every day, a different library every day. And each of those elements has its own delights and its own supreme perils. And you're just at the mercy of all of that. So that is sort of the cautionary tale of All This Could Be Yours, as well as writing it made me realize how, even more than I already did, obviously, how important independent bookstores are, how critical they are to our success, how libraries, the people who work in libraries and the people who make sure that our books are available in libraries are just saints who are devoted to reading and devoted to books and devoted to connecting books with readers. You know, that's just a powerful work. And how our books are not fully formed until someone reads them, because it's the experience of, I mean, it takes me a year to write a book and we can talk about that, but it's the moment of the experience of the reader taking in those pages and making that experience be their own. This is my book. Only I could have written this book because it's so incredibly personal. And it really makes me laugh sometimes to think about it. But you're so right. I was in Scottsdale at the Poison Pen bookstore, which we know is a haven for all mystery readers and writers. And I signed a book, So Great to See You in Scottsdale, and the date. And I handed it to the reader, and I thought, well, I've just given her an alibi. I've just proven by this book that she was at my signing at this bookstore on this date and that we were together. And I thought, well, that's so interesting. I never thought about an inscription in a book that way. And then I thought, well, there are so many things that we just write as inscriptions at signings that are just sort of casual, honest, and true, but just sort of we just write it down without a second thought, like, thank you so much for everything. So let's say I have a book that someone signs that says, thank you so much for everything. And someone says to me, what did the author mean by that? I could make up anything I wanted that meant, right? Or it's so nice to see you again, or thank you for a fabulous evening. Like if you decided to make that mean something else, you could really do that. And I started really sort of weaponizing, as I said, these inscriptions. And somebody told me once that a good idea was like, and this is so weird, but have you ever put a Mento into a Coke? And you know how you when you put them, a Mento is fine and good, and Coke is fine and good, but together when you put the Mento in the Coke, kablam. And that's what a good idea is. It's like a little bit from here and a little bit from here, and you put them together and kablam. And that is exactly what happened with All This Could Be Yours. Once I started thinking about what could happen on book tour and what would be the sort of dark side of everything that we assume correctly is wonderful about book tour. I adore book tour. I can't wait to go. It's going to be pretty funny because I'm going to be an author on book tour talking about a book called All This Could Be Yours, which is about an author on book tour talking about a book called All This Could Be Yours. So it's pretty funny and pretty meta, and I'm really excited about it. But when you think about that, if you go to my website, when the tour is posted, if you go to my website, you'll be able to see exactly where I'm going to be every day for the next month. Okay, that's great. We live on publicity. We love publicity. That's wonderful. But on the other hand, you're going to be able to know where I am every single day for the next month, and also where I'm not. That is also important. Also, if you know, and I'm just making this up, that if I'm flying from, Des Moines to St. Louis, and I'm going to be in Des Moines on Wednesday and St. Louis on Thursday, I have to get there somehow, and I'm probably going to fly, and there aren't that many flights from Des Moines to St. Louis. So you could probably figure out where at the airport I was going to be. And I remember once I was at an airport. And I posted, I'm on my way to gate D45. I'm making up the numbers, who knows? But I'm posted, I'm on the way to D45. See you soon, Boca Raton, or whatever it was. And my publicist saw my Instagram post, and she said, "Don't say what gate you are. Why would you do that?" And I thought, oh yeah, that's probably not the best thing to do. Now, it's benign and it's fun, and everything we do on Instagram and all kinds of social media is revealing about where we are, and that's great. And on the other hand, it's revealing about where we are. So, and don't even get me started about having my hotel room key cards demagnetized. That happens in the book, and there is not a day that goes by that doesn't happen in real life on book tour. My friend Reese Bowen taught me to take a picture, a snapshot of my hotel room number, because there is no other way to remember your hotel room number if you have a different number every day. And of course, they don't put it on the cards or there's no keys anymore. So if you forget, you're doomed. So my phone is full at the end of book tour of pictures of hotel room doors with numbers on them. So everything in the book, everything in All This Could Be Yours, absolutely comes from real life. There's a fire alarm in the book. And there was a fire alarm in one of my hotels, and everybody had to get up in the middle of the night, and it's terrifying. And it goes through your mind like it goes through Tessa's. What do I need to take? My phone, my laptop, which has the only copy of my new novel on it because there's no Wi-Fi and there's no cloud, and so I've just emailed it to myself. And so now, how am I going to keep that? And I need shoes, and I need a coat, and I need my purse, and all the while the alarm is going, and half of your brain is thinking this is just a false alarm, And the other half of you is thinking, what are my kids going to do if I die on book tour? And all those kinds of things happen in real life, and they're generally benign. But my job in All This Could Be Yours was to make it be the scariest it could be. And it kind of freaked me out. It's freaking out all of my author friends too. They all say they're happy they read it when they were home, and after they were home from tour. I just start and then I see what happens. And I am experiencing what happens along with the main character. And at some point, and I know that there is something untoward going on. I know that my character, for instance, is getting questions from the audience that seem to have a double meaning or seem to have sort of being iceberg questions where on the surface they sound perfectly benign, but underneath there's something that that person obviously or seems to know that Tessa might not want to answer and might worry that it's someone who knows something that she wishes weren't public. Because as in every novel of suspense, everybody has a secret or two. In All This Could Be Yours, Tessa also has some secrets that might ruin her career if they are made public. She thought they were safely stashed in the past. So what unfolds in Tessa's life unfolds in real time in my writer brain as well. So as things are happening, as scary things or potentially scary things are happening to Tessa along the way, um, part of me is writing it and it's really interesting and really suspenseful. And I'm thinking, ooh, I wonder what's going on here. I wonder who this is. I wonder how this is going to happen. I wonder why they're doing this. Part of my other brain is saying, yeah, pretty soon you're going to have to figure that out. Pretty soon this is all going to have to mean something. But I don't know what it means when I'm writing it. I wait for the story to evolve until it coalesces into what it means. So as I'm writing, I'm truly in search of the story. I'm just following the decisions that my main character makes in response to things that happen to her, and in response to what she thinks is happening, both on tour and at home. Because Tessa has left her husband and her two kids home in their new house where she's only lived for one day. And she begins to realize that her husband, they communicate by FaceTime and by Instagram and by Zoom. And she realizes the power of her husband Henry's camera, that he's only showing her what the video that he wants to show her. He can point the camera or the phone where he wants to point it. She can't see past that. So she begins to realize, what is he not showing me? What is he leaving out when we have these Zooms and we have these FaceTimes and they're talking to Zach and Lenny, her two kids. She's only seeing what they want to show. So she's trying to be Zoom mom and Instagram mom and Zoom wife and Instagram wife, but she can't know everything. She only knows what her family and her husband decide to show her. So again, it's what's behind the camera, what's behind the video, what's behind the scenes, what is she not seeing, and why do they appear to be preventing her from seeing some things. So everything is nerve-wracking. Besides the fact that on book tour, and very specifically for me, you're always hungry, always absolutely exhausted, always worried about missing a plane. If you miss a plane and you can't get from Des Moines to St. Louis, you're going to miss your event and everything completely falls apart. Meanwhile, New York is on the phone. The publicist and the organizers are on the phone saying, did you make it? Are you there? How many people? Did you have a good night? Are you all right? Is everything fine? Did you sell books? Did you sell books? Did you sell books? And so this is her career, and it depends on um, so many other people, and so much of it she has no control over. And that's what creates this high stakes, high pressure, high level suspense for her. Tessa is the breadwinner in the family. And if she fails as an author, her family is going to be out of money. I mean, that's she's the sole provider. So she can't fail and her career can't be harmed. And she doesn't have that much control over it. And that stress is, and you know this, that stress is absolutely real. And that's what I was trying to impart in this novel, this high tightrope walking act that an author has to do, where so much is at stake, not only for you, but for your family and for the publisher and for everybody who works at the publisher and for the bookstores who live and die by book sales. And I say live and die by book sales because I'm a suspense author. So who knows what happens. But all of that is what comes through in this book. And all of that is what I was trying to channel in this novel. That was a really touchy thing because I real I realized that it has to be very realistic. And I've been, in a million bookstores and behind the scenes in a million bookstores, and I essentially know how they work, and I know the people who work there. But I didn't want to use real bookstores because what if they weren't there in 5 years, and then it would sort of, as they say, take you out of the book because you would say, oh, Sally Schmo bookstore, that isn't there anymore. And now my book is dated. So what I tried to do was take the essence of bookstore, the essence of the bookstore in Phoenix or the essence of the bookstore in Denver or Seattle, and take everything great about those bookstores and put them into the book, but make the bookstores are imaginary amalgams, if I could say that, as realistic as they could possibly be. And the owners and proprietors and managers of the bookstores are, imaginative amalgams again, the qualities of real bookstore owners, for better and worse, because it's a tough, high stakes job. And so, for better and worse, I put the characteristics of real bookstores and the characteristics of real bookstore owners and managers, the characteristics of real libraries and real librarians, and real research librarians and real readers and real writers. The one place that is real are the libraries. The Philadelphia Library and the Des Moines Library are as depicted. And I've gotten great letters from early readers in both places saying, "Oh, you nailed the libraries." It's so funny to see that on page. Because I thought, well, the libraries, I can describe a library and I can have it be the way it is. So that was really fun. And the way I figured out the tour was logic. I started in Indianapolis, which is my hometown, so that was a little homage to Indianapolis. So then I thought, well, now she has to be someplace the next day at night where she can get to. So where would that be? And from an author's point of view, I wanted her to go farther from home, not closer to home. I wanted her to go farther from home so the time zones would be a problem for her because I mean, she lives in Massachusetts on Eastern time. So if she's on Pacific time or Mountain time, her whole life is off kilter and that's why in the book she wears two watches, as I do when I'm on tour, a tour time watch and a home time watch. So I know where my family is and I know what time it is for them. So I wanted to make her life, because we do this as authors, I wanted to make her life as complicated as I could. And so the fact that when she's having dinner in Seattle, her family is asleep in Boston and she's off. And so I moved her tour way west, kept going west and west. So it would be upsetting to her also, her circadian rhythms and the rhythm of her own life, and that her metabolism is off and she's always hungry and always sleepy and searching. And this, every author knows this, how tired you always are. So I did it logically, geographically, to keep her going west, to make it be really tight timing, that she didn't have any leeway, after, that she doesn't have any layovers where she's not doing anything. So I really felt kind of like a travel agent. It was so much fun figuring out the tour for her and where she might really go. Great bookstores in Denver, great bookstores in Seattle, great bookstores in Des Moines, and in Iowa. So, and she goes to Texas and she goes to Arizona, and the places that we go, the places that we really go. So it'll all feel very familiar to people in those towns, but it's not, as on all fours a description of a bookstore. I do have to say, now that I'm saying this to you, when she comes back to Brookline, Massachusetts for a big event, that is Brookline Booksmith. My launches for so many years have been at Brookline Booksmith, and they've been really a part of my life. An Unlikely Story bookstore has been major for me, and Wellesley Books and Newtonville Books in my hometown. So Brookline Booksmith does get a little bit of a cameo in this book.